Megyn Kelly drops the real reason why Pete Hegseth was never charged with assault. But basically, before we get to Megyn Kelly,
I am a woman and I use the women's restroom. And I guarantee you, not one of you will stop me.
Joe Rogan and The View, Joy Behar, Whoopi Goldberg, they're going at it, guys. The View, Joy Behar, they're just basically now trying to make this argument that people watch The View because they're credible. They're so credible, they're so trustworthy that they're constantly being fact-checked, and people go to The View because they tell the truth. They uncover the truth and they share it with the people. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, but I think that's why people like our show, because they know that we are checked by ABC News. But
we're checked by everybody.
Yeah, I mean, if we're wrong, we have, the legal note here.
Human legal.
But we went from Walter Cronkite, basically, to this guy Joe Rogan, who believes in dragons. I checked it. He believes in dragons. He believes in dragons.
Did you triple source that?
Yes, I did.
So of course Joe Rogan had to, hit back and troll The View. Basically, they're trying to make fun of him that he's a dragon believer. And so basically what Joe Rogan did, he said, well, screw it. I don't care what you ladies think about me. He updated his Twitter, his X profile, and basically put dragon believer there. And then he clowned and completely trolled, and the internet literally exploded, or I should say the internet figuratively exploded after this. Joe Rogan just started making so much fun about The View and how much their ratings are declining. ABC News or ABC shows, particularly The View, are seeing their viewers no longer watch their shows. Viewers are declining. And so Joe Rogan just takes this opportunity to just completely go off, and the internet goes wild. Mainstream media hates it. Mainstream media is getting their lunch eaten, and Joe Rogan, he shows no mercy. Watch.
Jail and prison. Leftist viewers deal NBC, CNN, a Trump slump ratings crash. Here's why. So what's the numbers? What does it say? Does it say? The Rachel Maddow Show, for example, easily MSNBC's top-rated program, though it only airs once a week, drew just 1.3 million viewers on November 10th. 5 days after the election, a drop of 1 million viewers from the month before.
Wow, guys, that was Joe Rogan breaking down Rachel Maddow's numbers. And according to the numbers that he shared, there were 1 million fewer viewers watching Rachel Maddow after the election. He indicated that Rachel Maddow's views were approximately 1.3 million views. That means that Rachel Maddow lost 50% viewership on her show post-election. Now, you guys might remember this. This was Sunny Hostin. She was on The View, and this was like, I think the day before yesterday or so. I shared this with you guys, and you guys were livid. The internet went off as well. I was reading all sorts of Twitter posts regarding this. Sunny Hostin flapping her lips, flapping her gums, talking about how Matt Gaetz allegedly was involved in some particular matters. Well, what ended up happening is that The View was interrupted. They literally stopped The View after Sunny Hostin made these false allegations. Whoopi Goldberg jumps in, tells Sunny Hostin, hey, look, you have illegal, you have to read this. Sunny Hostin had to eat her words. Sunny Hostin had to eat her words on The View, on ABC's The View, and I know she hated it, and the internet exploded on this as well. Watch.
Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations, calling the claims, quote, invented, and saying in a statement to ABC News that this false smear following a 3-year criminal investigation should be viewed with great skepticism. That DOJ investigation was closed with no charges being brought.
We'll be right back.
And guess what, guys? This wasn't the only time that this legal notice needed to be read by Sunny Hostin of The View. In fact, Sunny Hostin had to read this twice. I'm pretty sure Matt Gaetz was at home, laying on the floor, kicking just like a kid, laughing at Sunny Hostin having to do this. And you know this was a direct hit to Sunny Hostin's ego. Watch.
Sorry, I have a legal note. Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations and has not been charged with any crime. Gaetz previously dismissed allegations that he paid for sex, saying that, quote, someone is trying to recategorize my generosity to ex-girlfriends as something more untoward. Another legal note, Pete Hegseth's lawyer said he paid the woman in 2023 to head off the threat of a baseless lawsuit. He has denied any wrongdoing.
Just call the show Legal Note from now on.
Wow, guys, absolutely wow. So you got to wonder, why is ABC News suddenly being so harsh to Sunny Hostin's responses, her commentary? Usually it seems like pretty much for the most part, Joy Behar, Whoopi Goldberg, Sunny Hostin, they can just pretty much go off and say whatever they want to say, making accurate or false allegations against whoever they want with no consequence. But all of a sudden things have changed. But I think it's so hilarious that Joe Rogan literally just went off on The View, after calling him a dragon believer, and literally roasted them. And Joe Rogan's views are way more than The View. In fact, Joe Rogan probably gets more views on his show in one day compared to The View in a whole month. By the way, guys, if you haven't already, definitely hit the like button for the video, subscribe to the channel. I totally appreciate you guys. Megyn Kelly drops the real reason why Pete Hegseth was never charged with assault.
Jane Doe had business at the hotel. On 10/7, Jane Doe was busy at the conference. Blank was in the hotel room. Blank. This is the husband. Jane Doe had business at the hotel. On 10/7, Jane Doe was busy at the conference. Blank was in the hotel room. Blank. And Blank stated Jane Doe had gone to their hotel room at approximately 5 p.m. while on a break. Blank stated Jane Doe did not seem intoxicated. Jane Doe had left the room and went back to work. Blank stated Jane Doe was in communication with him via text messages. Blank stated he fell asleep and woke up on 10/8 at approximately midnight.
Jane Doe and her husband, they were staying at a hotel on October 7th because Jane had a business conference there. Meanwhile, Jane was busy with conference activities. Her husband remained in the hotel room. And at about 5 p.m., Jane returned to their room during the break. Now, according to her husband, Jane did not seem intoxicated at the time. She eventually left the room in order to return to work, but she stayed in touch with her husband via text messages throughout the evening. But later that night, Jane's husband fell asleep and then woke up around midnight on October 8th.
They texted some more, and Jane Doe told him she was at the bar and out with the woman from the conference. At approximately 12:30 a.m., Jane Doe stopped texting Blank. Blank was worried about Jane Doe. Blank was reading the news, and it made him even more worried for Jane Doe's safety. At approximately 2 a.m., Blank stated he had left the room and went to look for Jane Doe at Knuckles Bar. Blank stated there was no one at the bar when he arrived on scene. Blank went back to his room. You with me? You saw the text earlier? My love, you've never been out close to 2 before. What's going on? Where are you? And now here's Blank telling the cops that at 2 a.m. he left the room and went to look for her. Okay? Went down to Knuckles. No one was there. At approximately 4 a.m., Jane Doe arrived at their hotel room. This is per the husband, we assume, to the cops. Accessed their room on her own and used the key card reader to get in. Jane Doe told Blank that she must have fallen asleep. Jane Doe was apologetic. Blank notes that Jane Doe did not have a hard time walking and was not slurring her words.
They exchanged a few more text messages. Jane told him that she was at the hotel bar hanging out with women from the conference. However, at around 12:30 a.m., Jane stopped responding to her husband's text messages. So, of course, like any reasonable husband, this made him worried. And while reading this news, the concern for Jane's safety grew. Around 2 a.m., Jane's husband decided to leave their hotel room to go look for her. He went into a bar in the hotel called Knuckles, but found it empty. He then returned back to their room and texted Jane again, expressing concern. You've never been out this late. Where are you? Are you okay? However, Jane did not respond. At approximately 4 a.m., Jane then returned back to the hotel room. According to her husband, she used her key card in order to access the room. She told him she must have fallen asleep and apologized. Her husband noticed that she did not seem intoxicated. She walked normally. She also did not slur her words and was apparently coherent.
That's it right there, folks. That's why they did not bring charges. This is the husband. The cops are looking at text messages of the husband saying to her, you're never out this late. It's 2 a.m. Then the text message cuts off and He says, are you okay? Are you okay? No response. And she was seen going to Pete Hegseth's room at 1:30. So by 2, she's there. The communication with the husband clearly ends while she's in Pete's room. She doesn't respond to any of those texts. He gets up and looks for her. And within 2 hours, she's home. At 1:30 on the tape, she doesn't look intoxicated. In the bar, she doesn't look intoxicated. And here we are at 4 a.m. with the husband saying she does not look intoxicated. She did not have a hard time walking. She was not slurring her words. She apologized. And what was the story she told? That she must have fallen asleep. The very same story that Pete Hegseth says she told him she would tell the husband. Pete Hegseth and the husband are not talking. They are not coordinating stories. The cop spoke to Pete independently, and Pete said it was consensual, and she was panicked. She had cheated on her husband and was going to tell him this lie. They're simultaneously talking to the husband, who says she came in, she didn't look drunk. That's my interpretation of him saying didn't have a hard time walking, was not slurring, and tells him she must have fallen asleep. The very same lie that she told Pete she would tell.
Now, the key detail here is that Jane's story to her husband is that she had fallen asleep. This is the same explanation that she reportedly told Pete Hegseth earlier. So Pete Hegseth told police that he and Jane had been together consensually. I want to repeat this. Pete Hegseth told police that he and Jane had been together consensually, but then she panicked because she had cheated on her husband. Pete also stated that Jane told him that she would use the excuse of falling asleep when speaking to her husband. Pete and Jane's husband were interviewed separately by the police, and their accounts matched this key particular detail without any kind of indication that they had coordinated their stories. Additionally, footage from the hotel bar showed Jane at 1:30 a.m. She didn't appear to be intoxicated at the time, and this closely aligns with her husband's observation when she returned at 4 a.m. That consistency in the behavior and the matching of the timelines had led authorities to believe that, hey, the incident was not a case of assault. Pete Hegseth maintained it was consensual, while Jane's story and actions, despite the lie to her husband, did not provide evidence of intoxication or non-consensual behavior.
That's it. I'm sorry. This woman was not raped. This is a bullshit accusation.
So it only makes sense that the police decided not to bring any charges to Pete Hegseth based on the evidence in the interviews, as Jane's account of her husband matched Pete's explanation. And Matt Gaetz, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump's attorney general pick. Apparently, Matt Gaetz is looking to decline on this offer. Unfortunately, I really wanted to see Matt Gaetz be the new attorney general since Trump did nominate him. But Matt Gaetz actually comes out and gives a huge round of applause and a pat on Donald Trump's back for reselecting Pam Bondi, being, as he says, a stellar selection by President Joe Biden, or by President Donald Trump, for attorney general. Pam and I worked closely together when she was Florida's attorney general, and I chaired criminal justice in the state house. She's a proven litigator, inspiring leader, and a champion for all Americans. She will bring the needed reforms to the DOJ. So we're going to see how well Pam Bondi does. Take a listen.
Just announced, the president-elect has selected Pam Bondi as the next Attorney General of the United States. I'll read from this announcement from the president-elect. I'm proud to announce former Attorney General of the great state of Florida, Pam Bondi, as our next Attorney General of the United States. Pam was a prosecutor for nearly 20 years, where she was very tough on violent criminals and made the streets safe for Florida families. Then, as Florida's first female Attorney General, she worked to stop the trafficking of deadly drugs and reduce the tragedy of fentanyl overdoses deaths, which have destroyed many families in our country. She did such an incredible job that I asked her to serve as our Opioid and Drug Abuse Commission. During my first term, we saved many lives. Again, he goes on to say she's smart and tough and is America's first fighter who will do a terrific job as Attorney General. Again, Pam Bondi from Florida, the next nominee for President-elect Trump, who obviously saw today that Matt Gaetz pulled his name from nomination as the votes were not there on Capitol Hill in the Senate for Matt Gaetz as Attorney General. Pam Bondi now the name that the president-elect has put forward in that position.
Interesting. So we actually got word from Matt Gaetz just yesterday, basically saying that, he didn't want his situation to be a distraction for Donald Trump's momentum, and basically kind of took a personal hit on the chin in order to promote and position the greater good of the Trump-Vance movement. So shout out to Matt Gaetz on that one. That was a tough move, a tough decision that he ultimately made. I think he made that decision by himself without being coerced. But anyway, definitely sounds like a team player on that decision.
Administration, has the Biden administration been helpful for you? Have we seen numbers go up or down? And what about under Trump?
Well, it was interesting. Trump's first term, it was way down, veteran homelessness, because they were really heavily leaned into the veteran community. And then when we had this migrant crisis, a lot of the VA HUD-VASH funds that are supposed to house homeless veterans ended up getting reallocated to migrants. So it went up by 12%. And I think it will go back down under this new administration.
Wow. So that money that was supposed to go to veterans went to the migrants. Correct. And that's why some of these veterans are on the street. They didn't tell that first guy why he wasn't allowed to stay in the shelter.
Well, they're not allowed to stay in the shelter because there's not enough shelters is the problem. And if you went to prison, like most of these people have gone to prison for domestic violence and things, drugs, and then they can't get in the shelter. They won't put them in these military shelters, so they continue to not get rehabilitated. They just retain their trauma for their whole life.
Well, I know you're going to be working with Washington. You're a lobbyist as well. You'll be working with Doug Collins and whoever some of these appointments, if these appointments go through, Pete Hegseth possibly. So thank you so much. God bless you. So much. You're awesome.
Wow.
All right.
So money that was allocated by the WTP to be spent on homeless veterans was instead spent on illegal aliens by the Biden regime. Anybody have any considerations, thoughts on that? Thoughts, comments, concerns? Now, regardless of what Mark Cuban is saying, I'm sorry. Trump's attorney general is going to be a woman. We just talked about this. Pam Bondi, Trump's DHS secretary, a woman. Trump's director of national intelligence, a woman, Tulsi Gabbard. Trump's UN ambassador is also a woman. So Mark Cuban's probably feeling a little stupid right now. You see, Mark Cuban tells The View you never see Trump around strong, intelligent women. Yeah, So I guess Tulsi Gabbard doesn't qualify as being a strong, intelligent woman, Mark Cuban. I guess Pam Bondi being the next, or at least Donald Trump's nominated attorney general wouldn't be a strong, intelligent woman. I mean, look at the DHS secretary. Look at Trump's UN ambassador. Come on, Mark Cuban, take a hike.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple. They're intimidating to him. He doesn't like to be challenged by them.
Can you believe this, guys? Mark Cuban, just open mouth, insert freaking foot. And I just want to prepare you guys. MSNBC guest literally just melts down over Donald Trump picking Pam Bondi as the next female attorney general, says that they should fear her because she is competent. Liberal political scientist Jason Johnson said Pam Bondi is an effective pick, who is worse, Pam Bondi could possibly be a worse, scarier pick by Donald Trump than Matt Gaetz. We should all fear her. Watch.
Pam Bondi is exactly what I was saying in the last segment that we should all fear, because she's competent. We may not agree with her ideologically, but she actually knows how to do this job. So if anyone on the Democratic side or anyone who cared about liberty or justice was thinking, well, maybe Matt Gaetz will screw this up and that'll give us some time. No, Pam Bondi knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing about immigration. Remember, Florida is one of those states that's been very aggressive about migrants and deportation and moving people to different states and everything else like that. Florida has enacted all sorts of rules and laws to curtail students and what they can do on campuses and finding legal justifications for manipulating education money. She is a dangerous and effective pick, and that's frankly worse than what we would have got with Matt Gaetz, even with the deplorable moral background that he has.
Yeah, and I want to discuss that with a little more depth with both of you, including her record on civil rights, LGBTQ rights, and other issues that are front and center at the DOJ, and which we know were also big campaigning.
We've been called election deniers, racists, conspiracy theorists, liars. Did I leave anything out? We, the people of Bucks County, are fed up. Yes, you're hearing us loud and clear.
These are elected officials who openly and blatantly admitted to disobeying the law. How could we ever have faith in their ability to uphold the law again? The answer is we cannot, and they must resign immediately.
I've got to tell you, standing here today, listening to all these patriots and looking at how many people came out, something's wrong with the way we're conducting the elections in this county.
Voters are pissed off. Enraged voters have packed the Pennsylvania office today as a result of the illegal vote count that took place in Pennsylvania during the Senate race, and they're demanding resignation. More heads are rolling, more people getting fired.
Calling an outrage in Pennsylvania, enraged voters there at a wild meeting in Bucks County voicing their anger, condemning Democrat election officials who voted to count illegal ballots in the state's hotly contested Senate race.
Wow.
Welcome to a brand new hour of America's Newsroom. I'm Sandra Smith, and Bill and Dana have the day off. Jillian, great to be with you.
It's great to be with you, Sandra. We're very happy that you made it all in one piece.
Every morning's a battle, Jillian.
Your tail. I'm Jillian Turner. So the Pennsylvania recount is moving ahead, moving forward. Republican Dave McCormick is maintaining his lead. Incumbent Democrat Bob Casey not conceding just yet. And with that recount underway, Bucks County officials say they will now comply with a state Supreme Court order to throw out illegal ballots.
State Supreme Court order to throw out the ballots.
After a county commissioner said this a few days ago. Listen.
I think we all know that precedent by a court doesn't matter anymore in this country, and people violate laws anytime they want. So for me, if I violate this law, it's because I want a court to pay attention to it. And there is nothing more important than counting votes.
Nate Foy has more out of our newsroom on that. Hi, Nate.
Wow.
Hey, Sandra. Bucks County Commissioner Diane Ellis Marseglia apologized yesterday. She claimed her comments that you just heard were taken out of context and that she meant to refer to provisional ballots rather than the mail-in ballots that the state...
Are you guys buying this? She's talking about provisional ballots, not the mail-in ballots. Yet another I'm sorry apology. I don't know. But I'll give her the benefit of the doubt.
It was genuinely not the best words. I would do it all again. I feel terrible about it. I should have been more clear. I will be more clear in the future.
But Bucks County residents heard the commissioner say that she would break state law and count ineligible votes.
That would mean like votes of illegal aliens, votes of illegal immigrants, that we have been receiving multiple reports on illegal aliens flooding across the southern border, entering sanctuary cities and whatnot, and engaging in voting illegally in our local county votes.
Then when she tried connecting her comments to abortion rights, the crowd was not having it.
Oh boy.
When I inartfully spoke and used the word precedent when I was talking about provisional ballots, I was referring to the United States Supreme Court and the precedent that has been lost on many issues, including Roe versus Wade.
Those boos.
Whoa, the crowd erupts and loses control.
Were only the beginning. At yesterday's meeting, people accused their commissioners of cheating in the election and targeting conservatives. One man even referenced President Biden's comment calling Trump supporters garbage. Listen to this.
The crowd booed.
Do you need to resign today? You need to be fired. We are your boss. You are a bane, a stain on this country. The world is watching.
Like a beauty stain?
All of you, being called garbage doesn't seem to be so bad.
Wow. Meanwhile, in Philadelphia, city commissioners said they would follow, but disagreed with the state Supreme Court ruling to only count mail-in ballots that are dated correctly.
We know mail ballots that we get in time, and we know the mail ballots that we don't get in time. And therefore, I believe, in my opinion, that ballot should count.
Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro reminded all election officials this week to follow state law. While 3 counties have already finished their recount, Senator-elect Dave McCormick and Senator Bob Casey each gained a single vote. Some counties are still completing their initial count because of legal challenges to provisional ballots. Senator Casey is asking for more than 1,200 ballots to count across 9 different lawsuits, while McCormick wants thousands of votes removed from the count, but that still hasn't been ruled on by Pennsylvania courts.
Wow, that is a lot. Nate Foy, thank you.
Jeez, guys, unbelievable.
At yesterday's meeting, people accused their commissioners of cheating in the election and targeting conservatives. One man even referenced President Biden's comment calling Trump supporters garbage.
Do you need to resign today? You need to be fired. We are your boss. You are a bane, a stain on this country. The world is watching.
Just announced, the president-elect has selected Pam Bondi as the next Attorney General of the United States.
Pam Bondi is exactly what I was saying in the last segment that we should all fear. So if anyone on the Democratic side or anyone who cared about liberty or justice was thinking, well, maybe Matt Gaetz will screw this up and that'll give us some time. No, Pam Bondi knows what she's doing.
Ladies and gentlemen, MSNBC may be toast. Rest in peace. Goodbye. Sayonara. So Comcast is announcing a plan to spin off cable channels, including MSNBC, CNBC, and USA. Looks like the new company will also include Oxygen, ESYFY, or I think that's like Sci-Fi, and the Golf Channel. But check this out. So Comcast announced a plan Wednesday, which is just like 2 days ago, to spin off most of its cable television networks into a completely separate, publicly traded company on the stock market. Okay, the new company will include USA Network, CNBC, MSNBC, Oxygen, Sci-Fi, and the Golf Channel. Comcast will retain key NBC Universal assets, including the NBC Broadcast Network, NBC News, NBC Sports, the streaming service Peacock, and the cable channel Bravo. I don't know if you guys have seen Peacock, but their HD quality is like super high. Anyway, we've been talking about this guy, Joy Reid, looking to remove some of these key faces that have been super far left and just beyond crossing the line. Okay, so we could literally be saying goodbye to getting laid off, fired, sayonara. Let's not forget about Joe Scarborough, and let's not forget about Brzezinski. We just talked about them having a little brunch with Donald Trump over at his Mar-a-Lago estate. It says here that the transaction will be structured as a tax-free spin to existing shareholders. Comcast owns NBC parent company, but the move comes as traditional cable networks bundles faces stiff economic headwinds, most notably the rise of cord cutting and the shift to streaming alternatives, aka people like us on YouTube. Comcast cable portfolio still contributes to its financial bottom line and helps expand its cultural footprint. By the way, guys, if you haven't already, definitely hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you guys.
I am a woman and I use the women's restroom, and I guarantee you, not one of you will stop me.
Guys, if this is a woman, then there's no such thing as a woman. You're desperate to be categorized as a female, but by entering the category, you destroy it. You know that which must suck for you, but not as much as it sucks for the women and girls fighting just to retain their rights and spaces.
Did she ever say anything before Sarah McBride existed? Why last year when there were no trans members?
Because she's confronted by the situation in Congress.
Nancy Mace is not afraid of Sarah McBride.
Didn't you learn that the American people don't want this? That the majority of people don't want to be kowtowing to a 0.01% of people who want to enter into my bathroom? I don't want a guy who's dressed as a woman, who thinks he's a woman, whether he has his thing or not. I don't want him in my bathroom. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to wash my hands near him. I don't want him in there. You know what? Get your own freaking bathroom. Go in your own unisex. Go in your own unisex bathroom.
She has her own bathroom.
Wait a minute.
Judge Judy just goes off. What do you guys think about that? Should dudes who want to use women's bathrooms be permitted? You don't have my vote on that one. Dudes, go use the men's bathroom, period. Done. There's only two genders. By the way, guys, if you boy, guys, we have a lot to talk about today. So Megyn Kelly recently voiced her frustrations about the perceived hypocrisy of the Democratic leadership in Washington, D.C. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin He's made a concerning change to Russia's military doctrine concerning the ongoing conflict over in the Ukraine. Then, of course, we got former President Donald Trump's political influences continuing to grow, and it's scaring the left, with his nominees impressing Republicans and pissing off a lot of these Democrats. I'm getting alerts like constantly on my phone, new appointees from Donald Trump. But in legal news, Trump is now seeing a lot of progress as a lot of his high profile cases against him are finally being dismissed. Comment down below if you guys are happy to hear about Donald Trump's cases finally getting dismissed, guys. We're also talking about the hush money case that took place over in New York with DA Alvin Bragg, Judge Juan Merchan. So a court recently delayed the sentencing originally set for November 26th. However, New York District Attorney Alvin Bragg and Attorney General Letitia James, they're determined to keep pursuing legal actions against Donald Trump, even though a lot of critics are arguing that this approach completely violates all the norms around peaceful transfers of power. But we're talking about DA Alvin Bragg here, guys. We're talking about Letitia James. They've stated that they're basically just going to continue their efforts against Trump, regardless of the legal or even the traditional implications. Unbelievable. Now, this legal reprieve is welcome news for Donald Trump, who's faced numerous court battles. We've covered most, if not all of those court battles right here on this channel. And I think, honestly, this is why a lot of people have decided to subscribe to the channel, have joined us, and have helped the channel to grow so much over the past couple of years. Also, I want to thank you guys for hitting the like button and for sharing these videos. It really does help us to get this information out there. But guys, as a sitting president, Trump would have certain legal protections. We know this, including immunity from prosecution, ensuring that, he could focus on his presidential duties without any kind of distractions. While some of his detractors have kind of joked about him serving as president from a jail cell, that's not going to happen. The legal safeguards are meant to prevent these kind of scenarios from ever happening. Now, one of these issues, key issues, as a matter of fact, is Trump's controversial pick of Attorney General Matt Gaetz. Now, Matt Gaetz, he's been struggling to gain enough Senate votes for confirmation. A lot of the senators are hesitant to, regarding the past sexual misconduct allegations against Gaetz, they were ultimately investigated by the Department of Justice years ago. And although Attorney General Merrick Garland, he found no evidence related to Matt Gaetz, they ended up dropping the case. But some lawmakers now, they're even pushing to try to revisit findings from a House Ethics Committee report before making a decision. And I personally think that they're so afraid of Matt Gaetz taking this particular role that they want to try and take him down, because if he gets into that position, they know that they're toast. But of course, Trump's not backing down. He's personally lobbying senators to support Matt Gaetz, viewing him as a strong, aggressive candidate for the attorney general role. Matt Gaetz supporters, including conservative activist Charlie Kirk, they're arguing that, hey, the allegations are lacking evidence, or at least credible evidence, right? And then, of course, Charlie Kirk, he even questioned the validity of anonymous witnesses on a post on X, formerly known as Twitter, stating that I've had enough of this. So, of course, the situation remains tense. A lot of strong opinions on both sides of the aisle, the left, conservatives, regarding Matt Gaetz' confirmation. And I think that her remarks, plus Trump's strategic political moves, definitely highlights the deep division that's taking place in the political landscape right now. But let me know your thoughts, guys. What do you think about this? If you haven't already, do your boy a favor, hit the like button for the video, subscribe to the channel. Check out this video here coming up next, and I'm going to see you guys on the next one.